You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, and this is your bonus episode for March because there are 5 weeks in March. This sometimes creeps up on me because I'll be like, oh yeah, I only have to record 4 episodes. I sit down to batch them, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I have to record a 5th one. But this is okay because I have a lot of ideas in my notes app. It's been one of those seasons where I'm getting a lot of ideas for the podcast. Sometimes I don't have a ton of ideas for the podcast, and if this is deferring you from starting one, I have to tell you that just start a podcast. I have a friend in the mastermind that I'm in, and her and I were talking the other day, and she was like, oh, I see that like you have a podcast, and I just wanted to see if I should. And I said, yes, 100%. Like, it gets you off of social media. It gives you an opportunity to be consumed by the people who want to listen to you, and hearing somebody say something by voice is just like reading a book. Like, you're so open to the information and you want to hear more. You're working or you're cleaning or you're on a walk or something, and you're really like integrating what the person is saying, or you're driving, whatever it is you're doing, but you are giving them your attention and allowing your brain to kind of get the information that you need. And I find that sometimes I can really shift how I'm thinking with just listening to one thing that somebody says in a podcast. So I think it's a great way to connect with your audience. It's a lead magnet tool. It's just another way for people to get to know you and to really hear that you are the expert, and you can cover so many different topics. I have a client who sometimes she struggles with like, oh, I don't know how to just like talk about everything that I really want to talk about. And I'm like, your podcast is yours. You can say whatever the fuck you want on it. And you guys know, like, sometimes there are times where I can't like tie every piece of what I'm telling you to imposter syndrome, but I do a good job of it because essentially it comes back to worth, you know, and you will realize that a lot of your concepts and the thing that you have to talk about come back to your niche or the specific thing that you help somebody with. So just get started. Don't worry about who's listening or whatever. You don't need to do some big to-do. Just get started and get it going, and there will be times where you're not going to have a ton of ideas, but don't stop. Just continue to record 2-minute episodes. I don't care, but stay consistent with it because you will see a huge return. I think I'm at like 6,000 downloads so far, which is super exciting. Actually, when you're listening to this, I'm sure it'll be like 7 or 8, but I can't wait to reach 10, and that is only from when I have loaded it onto Kajabi, because now that Kajabi has a part for your podcast, I switched it from SoundCloud. So I don't even know, because SoundCloud's not great at tracking like downloads, but I don't even know how many downloads I've had. I've had way more than 10,000, but Kajabi is showing me 6,000 right now. So we'll just say 6,000, but I'm sure it's more than 10, but it's going to be super exciting when we get to 10,000 on Kajabi. It's a slow burn, right? Because I've had it since 2018, and I've had a podcast since fucking 2018. So it's a slow burn, and you do it for the consistency and the compound interest, right? Okay. So that's what I have to say about that. And I can't even remember how we got on talking about a fucking podcast, but this podcast episode is about when you feel like you're scamming somebody, and when you struggle with imposter syndrome, you feel like a fraud. You feel like you are duping somebody into working with you or listening to what you have to say, or you're duping them into believing that you know what you're talking about. Especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're charging for your services. Like, this is why I do what I do with entrepreneurs, because imposter syndrome will come out even stronger and even heavier when you are charging for your services. So when you are charging for your services, this is why you offer discounts and why you undercharge and why you do all of these things, because you don't think you're good enough to charge a high amount, and you think if you did, you'd be scamming them or not giving them the right deliverables or enough value. And you may have the thought like, I'm scamming people. But I want you to really think about this. To think that you're scamming people is to believe that you are a person who could scam others. And I know every person who's listening to this podcast is a good-hearted human. You know, like, you wouldn't start a business and think about helping other people. You wouldn't think about eliminating your debt. And that's why you started your business. And that's okay if you did, because you want money. You want to be able to support yourself, support your family. You want to treat yourself. You're not a bad person, and scammy people are not nice people. So when you're having the thought of, I'm scamming somebody, that is coming from the belief that you are somebody who does scam people, and scammy people are not worried about scamming other people. So, okay, think about that too. Like, if you feel like a fraud, that is an indicator that you are perfectly good and perfectly worthy and a very good person, because frauds don't worry that they're frauding people. Scammers don't worry that they're scamming people. They just do it because that is their aim. That is their end goal. And really tap into, why are you doing this? And if you are doing this for yourself, I want you to know that there can be pockets of reasons why you are growing your business. So if that first pocket is to feel safe and secure, to make money, to take care of yourself, don't feel ashamed of that. I started this business because I did want to help people, but I didn't know that, because I was so clouded by, oh my God, like, I'm in debt from school and I just want to pay off my debt and like make money so I can support myself and travel and do all these things. And I felt so much shame about that. But I was just unlocking pieces of who I was and realizing I'm actually here for a deeper purpose. And that's why I was led to this work. But I had to realize that the why of wanting to support myself and support my family and like that self-actualization piece and making money was just one why. I had other whys, but they were just clouded by my like need for stability and security and safety in the money that I wanted to make through my business. So tapping into, why are you growing your business? Why are you hoping to help people? And not allowing yourself to shame yourself if it's to make money. Because if you actually looked at your reasonings for making money, you don't need to feel shame about making money for your family, because when your family feels safe and secure and they can do things, your kids grow up feeling experienced and they grow up having good childhoods. Like, that's just one example of what. It's not about the money, it's about what the money can do for you, right? So you don't need to feel shame, and you don't need to feel like, oh, I'm a bad person because I want to make money. That in itself is a lot of work that you can do on your mindset when it comes to money. But you're not scamming people, because if you think that you're scamming people, then you think that you're a person who could scam somebody or who could fraud somebody, and you are a good person. And I want you to really tap into that. And really what this is you are trying to believe in a result that you can't see yet, and that is highly rejected by normal society. Like, think about something like fucking Santa Claus. Like, we are accustomed to an experience. Oh, and just so you know, If anybody's listening to this with kids in the car, Santa Claus, this is just an example. Turn it off if there are kids. But Santa Claus is something that we're allowed to believe in up until a certain age. And then they tell us like, nope, you're too old now. You can't believe it because you can't see him, right? It's very rejected by normal society for us to believe in something that hasn't physically manifested yet, that hasn't actually come to fruition yet. We're told that we're not allowed to have confidence in something, that we're not supposed to speak on something. Like think about birthday wishes and like what's that word? Like superstitions in which we're not allowed to speak something into fruition because we're afraid it's not going to happen. Like we're all conditioned to that, right? Entrepreneurship is the opposite. It is believing in something that we haven't created yet, but like the belief is what creates it, because the belief is what creates the work and the action and everything that goes into actually creating the result. So instead of thinking, I'm a fraud, I'm a scammer, I'm telling this person that I can help them, first of all, you wouldn't be starting a business and doing this thing if you didn't have some inner knowing that you are capable of doing it. If you didn't think that, I have something to offer them, right? And you're never going to start out and charge like $30,000 for a fucking coaching package. You're obviously not going to do that. You have to start at something that feels good and feasible for you. Guys, in 2018, I launched a group program and I charged $25 for it. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this on the podcast. And I did a $1 sale for New Year's. So listen, it is okay. I had to start somewhere. And now I hook on that and laugh and I tell you guys, and it's a part of my story, right? But you can start whatever you want to start at. You are not scamming anybody. You are just believing in a result that you just can't see yet. And that is very rejected by normal society. But in entrepreneurship, just like I've always said, delusion, a little tad bit of delusion is required. Because every significant person in time created something from nothing. Like, I think I've said this example before, but Henry Ford, when asked why he didn't ask anybody about, like, he didn't do any research before he created the first car, is because he said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Like, they didn't know what they didn't know, but I'm not going to ask them because they're just going to say, oh, our horses need to be faster, instead of like, a car? Oh my God, like, what do you mean a car? You know what I mean? Like, every significant person in time created something from nothing. They solved problems along the way to get to their result. I say this too with my clients who are afraid to feel confident in a result, and this is something that I help you with in one-to-one coaching in terms of feeling really confident in the result that you can deliver to somebody, and that is what will sell, and that is what will help you sign clients, right? Is sometimes we don't always have the complete evidence of that result. And even sometimes you do. Like in the mastermind that I'm in, some of us have imposter syndrome and fear around saying, I can help you do this, when they actually have so much evidence of it. But it's just like the fear and the lack of confidence and the being held accountable to the result. You know what I mean? But that confidence can come from knowing that you have your own back and that you are going to solve every problem that comes your way in terms of helping your client achieve this result, because it's not about your worth. It's not about you not being good enough. It's about you solving problems for them and helping them. You are always good enough. You are always worthy. And when you don't make it about your worth or about your enoughness, it becomes, what problem can I solve for somebody? If you don't want to identify as an expert yet, identify as a problem solver. Identify as, I can solve this problem. I don't know how. I don't know if I can do it perfectly, but I'm willing to figure it out, right? So you're just a believer in a result that you can't see yet, and that's okay. And if you have had clients that have achieved a result, but you're still afraid to say it, it's just that enoughness, that worthiness, and that is something that we work on. in one-to-one coaching. I talk a lot about how in one-to-one coaching, I help you sign clients, but you can be signing clients and still not feel good enough. And I help you do it all and also feel good enough and feel rooted in that feeling and feel like you can sustain it, which is a really big deal because I think a lot of people, when it comes to imposter syndrome, they do the things and then they feel like they can't sustain it, or it's going to go away, or the other shoe is going to drop. And I help you with all of that. I help you feel worthy and then feel worthy of sustaining the results that you are creating. Okay? I hope you love this episode. Book a consult call at the link in my show notes for one-to-one coaching. This is the only way to work with me. It is a 6-month container, and you are going to get your mind completely blown by the results that you're going to get. Okay? I love you guys so much. Link in the show notes for that consultation call booking link, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in my lifetime group coaching program, The Worthy Woman Method. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at YourCoachJill so we can connect. See you next time.